Good morning. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Ron Alkema, Commanding Officer of the 48th Highlanders of Canada. With me is Chief Warrant Officer Reesor, the Regimental Sergeant Major. And I'd like to welcome you to our 2021 Act of Remembrance event. Each April, the 48th Highlanders conduct our annual Act of Remembrance parade on the weekend closest to 24 April, commemorating the regiment's service and sacrifice during the Second Battle of Ypres. At the start of the First World War, the 48th Highlanders formed the nucleus of the 15th Battalion, Canadian Expeditionary Force, and the regiment today perpetuates that battalion. We carry its battle honors, and we remember its fallen. Second Ypres was the first battle in which the 15th Battalion suffered significant casualties. In fact, it was all but wiped out during the 4 days of fighting. On the day after the battle, 150 out of 912 personnel answered the roll call. This is the second year that the 48th Highlanders will not be able to conduct this Act of Remembrance parade in person. But we will still gather to honor our fallen, those from the 15th Battalion of the First World War and those from the 1st Battalion 48th Highlanders who died in the Second World War. Similar to last year, we will conduct this event virtually, maintaining the protocols of minimum participation and physical distancing. This year, we're also going to spend a bit more time explaining the reason behind this event, the connection between the regiment and St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church, the various parts of the ceremony and why they're important, why the turning a page in the Book of Remembrance is important. I invite you to join with us in this ceremony, and I trust that it explains not only the what, but the why behind this important tradition of honoring our fallen.
It's always a great honor and pleasure to welcome members of the 48th Highlander community into St. Andrew's Church. St. Andrew's Church was first established in 1830 in a building at the corner of Church and Adelaide, and is now located at the corner of King and Simcoe in downtown Toronto. This building was built in 1875, and in 1891 it was from this congregation that the first people who founded the regiment emerged. Since that time we have enjoyed a very long and lasting relationship with the regiment. But what is also interesting to notice is that the history of the regiment is actually in many ways built into the architecture and into many of the symbols that we see in the present sanctuary of the church. As has been noted, the communion table was a gift from the 48th and houses the Book of Remembrance, which records the names of those who have been lost in battles of the past. Each year we look forward to joining the regiment in an act of remembrance in which we turn one page to remember those who have died. But that is not the only way that the regiment is represented in the sanctuary of the church.
In the center of the chancel is a memorial communion table dedicated on Remembrance Day, Sunday, 11 November, 1934. The table, a gift of the sergeants in memory of their comrades who fell in the First World War, is wrought in Canadian oak and was designed by Dr. John A. Pearson, a member of the church, a sergeant in the 48th, and architect of the present Parliament buildings and the Peace Tower in Ottawa.
There are a number of stained glass windows which have portions of the regiment's history ingrained in them, and also a number of plaques around the walls of the sanctuary which record the names of those who have died in the past, given by their loved ones and by members of the regiment.
In abutments at each end is our Book of Remembrance, upon which the names and ranks of the dead of both world wars are inscribed in elegant block script on parchment pages. One page is turned each year in the Act of Remembrance ceremony. On the east wall is the 48th Highlanders window, a stained glass window designed by Peter Haworth and dedicated on Sunday, 7 November 1937. Sergeant George Elms posed for the artist, little knowing that both his son and grandson would also serve in the 48th. Symbols of the 48th and our family ties are found throughout the church. On the west wall is the Barclay family window, recognizing a father and two sons, all Highlanders and members of the congregation. At the rear is a plaque to John Irvine Davidson, the first commanding officer, recognizing his service as director, then chairman of the Board of Managers of St. Andrews. One plaque communicates, perhaps better than any other, the bonds between those who serve together. It states simply, "To the glory of God and in pleasant memory of Private John Smith Barry, 48th Highlanders of Canada, who gave his life in action in Italy, 5th October 1944. Those in the 48th know that John Barry was the driver throughout Italy for Colonel Ian Johnson. Colonel Johnson did not place his name on the plaque. He believed that the regiment and its members deserved the greatest recognition. Instead, it is signed, the tribute of a comrade." Hanging in the chancel are the regiment's second and third stands of colors, retired with honor to the church. The first stand, shredding from age and the weight of the fabric and gold thread, were stabilized with a mesh sourced from St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle and was placed downstairs in the Regimental Museum for its opening by Her Majesty the Queen in 1997.
To be in this space in a very significant way is to be reminded of this long and historic relationship between the regiment and the church. We have enjoyed our long relationship with the regiment, and we look forward to working together as the years unfold.
An infantry unit's most prized possessions are its colors. Historically, colors were carried into battle and served as a rallying point for the troops. The two flags together represent the crown and the regiment, and the loyalty of the soldiers to each. As the nature of warfare changed, colors were no longer taken into battle, but they continue to represent the honor and dignity of the regiment and are treated with the greatest of respect. They are a gift of the sovereign and are consecrated by the chaplain general to be sacred symbols for the regiment. From time to time, new colors are given, and the old colors are retired here in the regimental church. The officer chosen to carry the colors were known as ensigns, and the senior sergeants chosen to guard them were called color sergeants. When religious services were held in the field, the chaplains would often build an altar with drums from the band and drape the colors over them to sanctify it. The 15th Battalion held such a service in February 1915 upon arriving in France. Delia says that their first divine service was held in a green field just beyond the village. The battalion formed a hollow square, and standing beside his drumhead pulpit, Canon Scott led them through the British Army service. It was a clear, windless day, and the clamor of guns drummed a low accompaniment to the general confession. The earth shivered beneath them as they sang. On this occasion, a Union Jack was used, as our colors were still in Toronto. Canon Scott held another service for the battalion on Sunday, April the 18th. Later that same day, the first shelling of 2nd Ypres began to fall on the town. When we place our colors on the communion table in the church, we recall not only these field services of times past, but we symbolize the sacrifices that the regiment has made in the hopes of securing freedom and peace for future generations.
The central component of the Act of Remembrance parade is that part of the ceremony when a page is turned in the Book of Remembrance. It has been said that a man is not dead while his name is still spoken, that we are only truly gone when we disappear from the memories of those who loved us. Like Remembrance Day, today's ceremony is another act of commemoration through which the regiment shows that its fallen have not disappeared from our memory. They are collectively all our fallen comrades, and yet every man was an individual. Every man had a name that deserves to not be lost to the tides of time. The Book of Remembrance contains the names of every fallen Highlander, and symbolically it ensures that those names continue to be spoken. Although we are not certain of the precise date, the Book of Remembrance was created following the end of the Great War, 1914-1918. And at that time, it contained the names of 61 officers and 1,406 non-commissioned officers and men who gave their lives in that conflict while serving with the 15th, 92nd, and 134th Battalions, as well as many other units of the Canadian Expeditionary Force and the British Empire. A generation later, following the end of the Second World War, the names of another 23 officers and 294 non-commissioned officers and men were added to the book. These men fell while serving with the 1st Battalion, 48th Highlanders of Canada, and other units of the British and Commonwealth forces. The book's 23 pages list all of the fallen of both wars in alphabetical order, regardless of rank. The inscriptions are in the regimental colors, with names in black and ranks alternating in red, blue, and green. Since 1934, the Book of Remembrance has been housed in 2 cases built into the sides of the communion table that was donated by the regiment's sergeants, with the dedication page on one side and the Book of Remembrance on the other. Every year since then, on the annual church parade, now the Act of Remembrance parade, the case is opened and a page in that book is turned, bringing another 2 pages of 120 names into view, thereby symbolizing the speaking of the names of the fallen. Thus, through this symbolic act, and to every individual man of the fallen, the regiment remains true to its motto, Delius Cubra, faithful forever.
Thank you for participating in this event with us. Delius Gubra, faithful forever.